to come on today and talk about how to hold a drumstick. So we're going to talk about matched grip specifically. There's a couple different grips or ways to hold drumsticks, but we're going to focus on matched grip today, and that's when your hands hold the stick the same way and match the technique in each hand. So to play matched grip, you take your stick, and I like to leave like an inch, maybe a little more off the back end of the stick, and you kind of take your stick and angle it with your hand, and then it should kind of come across your hand as so, and the fulcrum is going to be your thumb and your index finger, and the stick's going to land on that first little crease of your index, and this is how the stick will be held, kind of like this T. So you don't want the index finger to come too far down or point up in a way. You want that nice kind of little T to be your fulcrum. And then the back fingers just wrap around nice and loose on the stick. And I even have kind of a chamber created in my matched grip. And when you play, the back fingers are really just resting and the fulcrum is the front. So you could hypothetically just play with like the front fingers, but the back fingers provide more stability on the back. And you want your technique to always be as relaxed as possible. You should never be squeezing the front or the back, and your wrist should stay nice and relaxed too. And in a second we'll switch cameras to kind of show what that looks like on a drum or a practice pad. But you want to move your wrist kind of like you're knocking on a surface, so kind of your wrist nice and parallel with your arm, back of your hand facing the ceiling, and knocking on a surface is the way you want to move your drumstick with the front. Two fingers providing that extra fulcrum. So with matched grip, you'd want to match that in both hands. And when you play, your arms kind of come down, and you make a little V on the drum. We'll see that again in the other angle. And your thumbs face each other when you're playing. You don't want your thumb facing up on the ceiling necessarily in this version of matched grip. Like I said, there are other ways to play, and sometimes, everyone's hands are different, so you're going to adapt maybe the technique from kind of this basic standard kind of base would be the better word, probably a base technique, and then make it work for whatever ways you need to adapt for your own hands as well too, because everyone's hands are going to be different. So from this angle, you can see to kind of bring your sticks in together, making a little V on the drum. You want to use that bounce to come up off the drum. So I'm using mostly my wrist and that fulcrum and kind of catching the bounce on the way up. And the thumbs are facing each other, back of the hand up to the ceiling. So what it looks like without the fingers. And then they rest on the back. And those are kind of the basics of matched grip. You want to have the fulcrum in the front. You want to use wrist and be as relaxed as possible. You want to lift off the drum and kind of bounce off the drum too. And as far as like what's next, if you're interested in individual percussion lessons or bucket drumming groups, you can send me a message, or you can leave a comment or question in the comments below. What kind of technique do you use on your drum or your drum set? Traditional grip is another one. I was not trained in traditional grip, so I was trained more in the matched grip, and that's what I like to teach in my classes, as well as use with beginners, especially since it has that same technique in each hand. It can be a little easier to work on having really high quality technique that's as similar in the hands as much as possible. So that's how you play matched grip technique with some drumsticks.